Dy to help us make sense of this madness and try to break this down with us all here. Aids, welcome back to The Score.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
April Madness.
April Madness, pwede, no? It's wild. I mean, you gotta admit that this is one of the most fun first rounds we've seen in a long time, no?
The unpredictability of it all, kasi diba, usually when it's a first round, we see a lot of sweeps, pero in this playoffs, isa lang yung sweep.
Isa pa lang ang sweep.
And sobrang unexpected yung sweep.
Correct.
It's a lower seed taking
Baliktad.
down the Portland Trail Blazers. The New Orleans Pelicans, of course, are the ones that advance. So super unpredictable. Teams are winning and extending these series, and it's super fun for NBA
Saya panoorin.
fans.
Whatever team you're a fan of, it's fun to watch the competition because you can really see the intensity level of play have jumped up several notches. Okay, let's start with the Toronto and Washington series. Lest you forget, folks, 1 versus 8 po ito. So ito yung dapat sweep. Ito yung mga 1 versus 8 to 7. Yan yung dapat madaling sweep, pero hindi nagpapasweep ang Washington, not by a long shot. It's 3-2 now after Toronto won today. But what do you see today in their win that could, spell some good news for the Raptors, but they'll have to try to close it out first in Game 6 on the road.
I'm sure yung Raptors fans are very nervous kasi nga a lot of them thought that this would be different this year because nga they had the better bench, they were moving the ball better, shooting more threes.
Yep.
Pero once the series started, they were without Fred VanVleet, who's their top bench player.
Naging 6th man of the year contender
siya, exactly. He's only played 3 minutes out of 5 games because of a shoulder injury. But as we've seen in this game, they found another guard to step up, and his name is Delon Wright. Now, in the 3 games that Toronto won, he scores double figures. In the 2 games they lost, he doesn't. So parang siya yung naging replacement ni Fred VanVleet. So if he has another big game on the road, kasi nga, as we know, road players play better when they're at home. If he has a good game on the road against Washington, siguro the Raptors will have a much better chance of closing that series
out. Is this the way you look at this series right now? Does this say something about the two things in it? It's because people still have had doubts on Toronto as a legit contender. Kahit ang number 1 sila, parang okay, Toronto will still see the Toronto in the playoffs like before. Or is it a sign of the parity of the East na kahit number 8 seed ka, hindi pwedeng basta-bastang isipin mong masisweep mo yan?
It's a bit of both kasi hindi totoong 8th seed ang Washington Wizards kasi they had so many games na wala si John Wall. And John Wall was able to come back towards the end and kanina, he was basically the guy carrying the Wizards to almost an upset win. So they're not really an 8th seed when you look at that. And personally, I'm part of that in the first group now. Let's see the Raptors prove it first before we say, they're a much better team. So if they win this one, their reward is that they get to play likely or possibly LeBron James again, who's a team that has always given them headaches in the playoffs, or it could be this upstart Indiana Pacers team.
Alright. So again, regardless of who advances there, mahirap kalabanin yan para sa Raptors. Okay, speaking of the Cavs and the Pacers, today was probably arguably the most fun game today to watch. Most dramatic game to watch. And simulan natin dun sa Supalpal na naging napaka-controversial online. Was it a goaltend or was it a block? From the angles that we saw, kasi some people would rather see more angles. I want to see more angles, but from what we saw, what you saw?
The NBA rule kasi is that, I'm gonna read it here.
Sige.
It's a goaltend if someone touches the ball after it has touched the backboard below the ring level and while the ball is on its upward flight. So if you go by that definition sa NBA rule book, mukhang goaltend nga siya. But there are arguments na if you look at Oladipo's shot, there's no chance that ball was going in. And I think we were talking about this before with taping. We need a better angle, we could see if the ball in fact touched the backboard. It's not 100% clear. No? So siguro we're going to have to wait for the last 2 minutes report of the league's officiating crew tomorrow to see if there was a missed call there or not.
Exactly. And as well, those who were wondering bakit hindi siya na-review, there had to be a call on the play.
The refs had to call it muna that it's a goaltend before they can review if it is in fact a goaltend or not.
Exactly. Okay, but with the game itself, humabol pa tong Pacers. They showed their stuff on the court of Cleveland, of course. But again, it was another LeBron James heroic moment. And what does this say about the team of the Cavs? Yes, LeBron is stepping up big time in the playoffs, but Does he seem to have enough support? Has he woken up his teammates? Guys, playoffs na. Ako lang ata naglalaro eh.
It does seem na parang siya lang, no? The numbers a while ago are very stark. Now, Kevin Love was 2 of 11 from the field. J.R. Smith was 0 of 8 from the field. And so when that's your situation and Rodney Hood is not playing well, Jordan Clarkson is not scoring enough off the bench.
George Hill is
injured. He would play kanina. It seems that LeBron James has that burden of doing everything by himself. He plays 44 minutes a while ago. He comes up with that defensive play, and then he hits the game winner. And first round pa to.
I know.
Usually, in past Eastern Conference playoffs, when LeBron James was with the Cavaliers, they would coast through these early rounds.
First round, or at least
big
a 4-1.
Sweeps, big margins of victory. But with these Pacers, the games have all been close, except for one game. They've been grinding. And so it says a lot about LeBron's capacity to win, but it also says na mukhang mahihirapan siya if somebody else doesn't step up in the later rounds.
Interestingly as well, you pointed out that Oladipo's numbers have dipped in the last 3 games. So has he been checked? Have they figured him out? They're double teaming him. They're forcing him to, first of all, give up the ball anyways to begin with.
But it says also na beyond Oladipo, who else will step up on that team? Because Darren Collison has not been shooting well at all this series. Lance Stephenson comes and goes and irritates LeBron James all the time.
Si Bogan had one good game.
Exactly. And I think the guy stepping up now has been Domantas Sabonis, whom we mentioned kanina. He's the guy who tied the game. And so he's been averaging 20 points and 5 rebounds these past 2 games. And so we'll have to see if he gets more playing time, siguro at the expense of maybe Miles Turner, who's also been struggling when it shifts back to Indiana.
All right. Another interesting series na, again, surprise for many, itong OKC Utah, muntik na ma-eliminate ang OKC kanina with down by 25 big points.
Kung may mercy rule siguro.
Pwede na, no? Tama na. Third quarter, 25 points, diba? Pero a crazy finish. Russell Westbrook just goes on beast mode. 61-28 run. Wild. Pero what does it say about this series? And the chances of OKC, I mean, OKC has done it before. They've come back from wild deficits in series diba, in the past. Pero syempre, iba na yung characters involved now. But there's still Russell Westbrook.
It reminds me a lot of that Pelicans-Blazer series na parang where the Pelicans had the answer for the fundamental attack of the Lillard-McCollum style of play of the Blazers. Ito naman, once you have Rudy Gobert parked in the center, there's very little Russell Westbrook can do if he tries to attack the basket. And that's really the core of what OKC does. They want Westbrook to attack muna and then let him create for himself or for other players. But if you have Gobert there, that changes everything. Because who wants to attack the Stifle Tower? Even Westbrook doesn't want that. So kanina, as mentioned in the video, once Gobert gets into foul trouble and then Derek Favors joins him, they really struggled, and that opened up the inside-out game. Westbrook was able to not only attack, he was also able to, because the defense was giving him all that space, hit 3-pointers. He wasn't able to, he had only 3 3-pointers in the first 4 games. He had 5 kanina. And so that causes so many problems for the Jazz defense, and they were able to survive. The Thunder were able to survive because of that.
If there's any kind of game that you would like to have to go on to a Game 6, is this the kind of game you'd love to build the momentum on? A big win, emotional win, confidence-boosting win, and with Westbrook finally finding his shooting touch.
Definitely, because of everything that you mentioned. When the game started, mukhang dead yung team. It looked like they had truly given up. And if it hadn't been for that foul trouble and getting Westbrook to sort of flip that attack switch back on, I really think that they would have been done, and they would have faced so many questions this offseason about whether or not they get to keep Paul George and what happens with Carmelo Anthony. At least there's a bigger chance that they'll be able to at least force a Game 7, and if it's a Game 7, it'll be at home in Oklahoma City.
It just made me realize this would have been the last day we could have seen this trio together.
Exactly.
Diba? Who knows? All right, okay. Let's look forward to the next round. One of the series that we know that's locked in already is the Warriors and Pelicans series. So this is interesting. You have a Pelicans team that's high on this sweep. They're playing so well, even without DeMarcus Cousins. Remember that. Will Curry be playing? Will he be 100%? How do you see this series playing out?
The Curry question is really, that will really answer how long the series goes and who wins it. Because right now, the status of Curry is the team has said he's day-to-day. So there's still no certainty if he plays in the first game, the second game, or if he even comes back this series. Their projection is that he comes back in the second round. But there's still been no official word as to whether or not he will play this weekend when the game tips off. And, you know, Curry is such a unique player. They can win. They did win without him. But when you have an Anthony Davis there going up against the Warriors without a lot of three-point shooting, that allows them to really pack in the paint and sort of funnel everything towards him. With Curry there, creates so many headaches for them. And these two teams have played before in the several playoffs before. And so I'm sure the Pelicans want sort of revenge for that series. They were swept that time, and I'm sure they want a different result.
And it's not just Anthony Davis now. Of course, you've had a great series from Jrue Holiday. Playoff Rondo has reappeared. How is that coming into play in terms of the support that he has? Obviously, no DeMarcus Cousins, so he's like, one main star, but the support around him is there.
Well, yung interesting that the way they were able to attack the Blazers, they basically aggressively trap Damian Lillard. The problem with that is they can't really copy that with the Warriors kasi when you look at their starting five, it's Andre Iguodala at the point guard. Hindi siya traditional point guard. It's usually they run the offense through Draymond Green. And so because of that, they do a lot more cuts as opposed to the traditional pick and roll attack of the teams. And so you need guys like Nikola Mirotic to be alert on defense. Whoever it is, they plug in at small forward, whether that's Darius Miller or other guys. And Rondo can't be just single-mindedly attacking his man in his matchup. He now has to be more alert and sort of be the quarterback on defense. And so that's a big adjustment compared to what they did on first round. And so we have to see if they're up to snuff on that. Their head coach, Alvin Gentry, as Steve Kerr joked, is an offensive-minded coach. Hindi siya pang defense. And so, that's the sort of thing the Warriors will try to attack with or without Curry.
And that's a fun series to watch because don't forget, Alvin Gentry used to be
an assistant coach.
Associate head. Parang associate head ata siya for a while with the Warriors. So if anybody knows this team, it's Alvin Gentry. So that should be a really fun one to watch. Okay, AIDS, maraming salamat.
No
See you again soon. Thanks for that.
For more sports updates, keep watching The Score. And don't forget to subscribe.